Good win for the Buckeyes on the scoreboard, but what does it mean toward next week and the game? Welcome into the Voice of College Football. We do appreciate you stopping by, as always, for the best in discussion, debate, and analysis. Ohio State is 11-0, 42-9 over Rutgers. The Scarlet Knights will need to win next week to reach a bowl game for the third consecutive year under Greg Schiano. Let's look at the Buckeyes and why it was important to analyze this game. Yes, it was a yawner, as expected. However, Rutgers did fight in the first half, and they actually should have been closer on the scoreboard than the scoreboard would indicate. But all in all, it was a ho-hum Ohio State victory. They were a 32.5-point favorite. They won by 33. Of course, I took the Scarlet Knights in the 32.5, and Ohio State just had to score a touchdown with 2 minutes left. Buckeyes, why? Why do you foil me? Okay, back to the analysis. And the reason to break this game down is the best defense in the country. Did they continue to play like the best defense in the country? Check. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But the running game has needed to be developed, to come along, not to be a dominant running game. However, but with the emergence of Bo Jackson and some unsettling along the right side of the offensive line, certainly Ohio State needs a better ground game in key situations. 3rd and 2, can you get the 2 yards? Lead by less than a touchdown with 4 minutes left. Can you run the 4-minute offense and lean on the offensive line like they did last year against Penn State in the shadow of their own goalpost after the goal line defensive stand where they rammed it down Penn State's throats and won the football game? Can they do that? Can they run the football when it matters? They don't need 250 yards rushing. And then also, no Jeremiah Smith, no Carnell Tate. How would the Ohio State passing offense look without those two? Because they're expected back for the Michigan game. However, you never know. And wide receivers, in this case, with those nagging injuries, one play away. We saw it a couple years ago with Jackson Smith and Jigba, how that haunted him for the remainder of the season. Ohio State would have to look elsewhere for its downfield threats. And, of course, Max Clare, we expected to figure in heavily in the passing game. He's one of the best pass-receiving tight ends in all of college football, and he certainly was on this day. But they need the downfield threats. Would they get it from a wide receiver room? In addition to Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, 5 five-star wide receivers in this wide receiver room. But are the other guys ready? Guys like Brandon Inniss and also Mylan Graham to step up in big games, and they get no bigger than they are next week. All right, so let's attack this from the beginning of the game. Bo Jackson reading blocks better. You see the progress, you see the development. Clearly, he is the best back for Ohio State in what has become a crowded backfield with the emergence of Isaiah West. And, of course, C.J. Donaldson was always there as a reliable guy that if the other guys did not emerge, the young guys, that C.J. Donaldson would be the guy. But certainly he has taken a step back. And that's a good thing for the Ohio State offense because they have needed this explosiveness out of the ground game. Bo Jackson, 19 carries for 110 yards, but his first meaningful carry of the game was with no score at the Rutgers goal line, and he coughed it up. Now, it wasn't a situation where the ball security was an issue or he was not securing the football and it got popped out or he was being careless with the football. Still, details at this time of year leading into a playoff run are critical. And Bo Jackson let go of the football in a stack, and Rutgers recovered at the goal line and actually got the touch back out at the 20-yard line. So Ohio State's first drive that was exquisite in its execution came up empty. But just a couple plays later, and I'm surprised that this was missed by the Fox broadcast. D.T. Sheffield caught a ball clearly past the first down marker for Rutgers, but he was running toward the sideline back up the field. So he caught it past the first down marker, but he ran out of bounds in front of the marker. setting up 3rd and 1. And against this Ohio State defense, you can't take for granted 3rd and 1 in 2 plays is going to become a first down. And that's exactly what happened. And this was completely missed by the broadcast. Again, surprisingly, by me, with all the replays that they show, that they didn't catch this big mistake by Sheffield, because Rutgers would have had the first down and gotten their drive going. However, they got stuffed on 3rd and 4th down, and the Ohio State defense took over. And this Ohio State defense, when it comes to short yardage plays, was one of the best we've ever seen last season in the clutch. In this group, it must be in the DNA. It's just as good. It's amazing what this defense can do in these situations. And this time, Bo Jackson didn't have anybody close to him carrying the football into the end zone, because this play was beautifully blocked by Luke Montgomery in particular, pulling from the left side to the right side. 7-0 Buckeyes. 19 carries for $110 for Bo Jackson. Jermaine Matthews called for pass interference, led to a Rutgers field goal. On the broadcast, Joel Klatt said that it probably was not pass interference. I would disagree. It was close, but I thought he had both hands on the wide receiver with his back to the football and both hands up on the shoulders of the wide receiver, and that was clearly the biggest play, and that was a 4th and 6th play, so Ohio State would have gotten the stop there. Rutgers does get the field goal at 7-3. Ohio State's wide receivers did not separate. That was clear, because although we can't see the downfield separation watching on television, we know that Julian Sayin has cut it loose this season. He has progressed week to week to week to week, to the point that starting against Minnesota, certainly against Wisconsin and Penn State, and on through the middle portion of this Big Ten slate, he has started to let it go downfield, and today he got none of those opportunities to do so. Therefore, we know it's not Julian Sayin refusing to cut it loose and find those guys downfield. They just did not separate. Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate are apparently needed. David Adolph caught a couple balls for 23 yards, but the first time he got his hands on the football, he let it go to the turf on a key 3rd down play, and he dropped it. That stopped the Ohio State drive. Now to Adolph's credit, on the next drive when he was needed on 3rd down, he converted, made the catch, although I thought he committed offensive pass interference, but the Buckeyes get the play there. But 2 catches for a starting wide receiver at Ohio State for 23 yards. And then the other one, Brandon Inniss. This is a name that we've known in Ohio State circles for a long, long time. And when given the opportunity, should step up. 2 catches for 10 yards. Now, the one catch in the corner of the end zone was excellent. Great throw and catch from Sayin to Inniss for the touchdown at the back pylon, but no production from the wide receivers. And if Smith and Tate are hobbled, obviously if they miss the game, this is a huge concern. But even if they're in the lineup and aren't 100% or close to it, this could be troublesome for the Buckeyes. We saw a play in which Rutgers could have scored a touchdown or at least gotten very deep into the red zone. Kenny Fletcher got behind the defense on a play-action fake and got behind Caleb Downs, but Ethan Kalkumanis missed him by a mile. That could have been a big play for Rutgers. And like I say, when you consider that the first 2 touchdowns for the Buckeyes were gifts, they obviously had to execute on offense once given the football, but they were gifts by Rutgers. Number 1 on the play that I just described where the wide receiver went out of bounds in front of the yard marker. And then the other one was a gift when Ohio State was stopped on a pass breakup. So Lincoln Kienholz came into the game. And this is rather curious, but I like it. Lincoln Kienholz may be needed during a playoff run. He came into the game. It was still just 7-3. And it's 4th and 2, and they go with a play-action pass, and Kienholz goes to hit the tight end down the sideline, and it looks to be a well-thrown ball, but it was broken up by the Rutgers DB. But Bradley Weaver, late hit on the quarterback. It could have not been called, but it was technically a good call, gives Ohio State redemption, and they scored the touchdown again. That's the Inniss play to the pylon, 14-3. Joel Klatt mentioned something that in all the praise for Julian Sayin, who may win the Heisman Trophy, and I do agree with Joel Klatt that it should probably come down to the Big Ten championship game if Ohio State advances against Indiana, that if there is a clear winner of that game, not on the scoreboard, but a clear winner between Fernando Mendoza of Indiana and Julian Sayin, then you've got your Heisman winner. But Sayin is really good about going through his progressions, but considering his protection, should probably give it just a slight beat more through his progressions, as Klatt has picked up on film. And we saw one play in particular with Brandon Inniss, who'd broken wide open down the field for a sure touchdown. But Sayin had already looked that way. It's not that he didn't go through his progressions, but he already looked that way. Then Inniss broke free. Sayin checked it down, and he missed the easy touchdown there. So the Ohio State run game, difficult to judge today. It looked good. More explosive plays, more consistency from down to down, but Rutgers defensively is horrible against the run. So difficult to judge there. Sayin 13 of 19 for $157 and 2 touchdowns. That pretty much looks like the line against Texas. Julian Sayin obviously lighting it up mid-season and over the last 8 or 9 ball games. But in this one, Ohio State had to play it conservative. They did not have the downfield threats. They ran it. They had a controlled passing game. And, of course, the defense was rock solid. Oh, my goodness. Consider this. Ethan Kalkimanis and the Rutgers passing attack came in with a legit Big Ten schedule at number 22 in the nation in pass offense, number 44 in pass efficiency offense. Kalkimanis against this Ohio State defense, 10 for 20 for 81 yards. He had 52 yards in the fourth quarter. 10 for 20, 81 yards. He threw for 330 against an excellent Iowa defense. He threw for 386 against Washington, 359 against Purdue. So the Ohio State defense, again, came to play, was all over the place, did all the great things that you would expect them to do. The highlight play of the day for the Buckeyes on defense was Cade McDonald after the punt, exceptional punt by the Buckeyes, down inside the 1-yard line. You like to see that special teams component come together because that has not been an Ohio State strength in recent years. So the punt down to the 1-yard line. And when you've got a defense like this, it's important that you get those punts down inside the 5-yard line because defenses this great can turn defense into offense. Blindside sack of Kalkimanis with the touchdown there, but it was Sayin to Max Clare to make it 21-3 at that point. Interesting note and statistics dealt with during the broadcast as well. This is something we've known throughout the season as Ryan Day has actually talked about it. And there are metrics out there, but I was glad to see Fox put the metrics up about the Ohio State offense. And you think about Ohio State offensively because they love to throw the football and have more explosive talent than just about anyone. But that runs contradictory to what you would think about the expediency of the offense. They run the play clock more than any offense in college football. They run less plays. They run down the play clock more than anyone and run less plays than anybody in college football because they believe they're going to play 16 or 17 football games as they did last year. They also believe they've got a great defense. Of course, they do. But why not help that great defense by keeping them fresh? And those 2017, 18, 19 Ohio State offenses were exceptional, but they were running plays at rapid fire, and it was not necessarily helping the defense. Complementary football. And it was shown that by the end of this regular season, that the Ohio State defense will play less plays, 2 games full, less plays than Texas Tech, for example. Anywhere from 70, 80, 90, 100 plays, about 230 plays less than some of these teams. So it's pretty stark contrast of total number of plays because the Ohio State defense is so great. They get off the field 3 and out all over the place, and the Ohio State offense helps them out by running the play clock and they're not hitting for the type of explosive plays that they have in the past, although, as noted, that has come along against the likes of Wisconsin, Penn State, and other teams the last several weeks. This Ohio State defense is 11 games deep into the season, having not given up more than 17 points to anyone. The high water mark is Illinois at 16. The first team to accomplish that since Oklahoma in 1987. And now it's a tug-of-war between Ohio State this year, 2025, and Alabama 2011 in regards to fewest points given up per game. Ohio State entered the game at 7.5. They give up a total of 9 to Rutgers, and of course the touchdown did not matter. I would have loved personally to have seen Rutgers get the 2-point conversion so I could get my pick right. Rutgers plus 32.5, but none of you care about that. The Buckeyes are 11-0, Rutgers at 5-6, and of course, the big game in Ann Arbor, noon Eastern time on Fox. We will have this covered top to bottom. Steve Dace, Zach Smith, Chris Drew, Isaiah Hall, and myself all week here at the Voice of College Football. So please join us as we blanket Ohio State and Michigan, as we always do, like nobody else, right here at the Voice of College Football.